Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, Alex Tamsula, and what am I doing here? Well, it's Tuesday night once again here at my dad's sad farm garage. Yes, we are sad up here tonight. As most of you probably know by now, Nene passed away last week. I found the news heartbreaking. I liked Nene. A week before she died, she did a 3-hour live stream. I listened to a little bit of the beginning. I jumped into the middle and listened to some of that. But I'll tell you what, one of these days, I'm going to sit down and one way or the other, I'm going to listen to all 3 hours of this. I'm going to get a good buzz going. And then I'll say, I'm ready. But I'm going to do this to honor her memory, because this was the last thing she had to tell us. I think it's my video number 23, but it's the one titled Jesus Campos and the Volcanoes on Mars. In that video, I talk a lot about Nene. I'm going to leave a link down in the notes so you can watch it. You'll know how I felt about her. But if you want to travel back in time to a day when she was still with us, now's your chance. I subscribed to Nene's channel. I subscribed to Lady Justice. And this is how I knew. Anyway, there's always something interesting here in my dad's garage. What can I show you tonight? Why won't this play? Oh, that's why. Well, I was thinking on doing something a little different. I was going to take you upstairs to the second floor of the farm garage. When we moved here in 1962, we bought a dairy farm. And upstairs was a chicken coop. I would like to show you the chicken wire. On the floor, there's bird poop that's 60 years old. Now, I'm thinking anything nasty that was in that bird poop, it's probably long gone. I'm not going to sweat it. Right here, we have the stairs up to the second floor. Got a roll of paper towels. Got a pencil sharpener. Now, I hope you can see it, but right here, there's a hook on the end of a string. And when I pull down on that string, it opens the trap door up into the attic. What it is, it's a piece of door-sized packaged fiberglass, and the reason it's there is to keep the heat in. So, bear with me. What I'm going to do is run behind the camera, tilt the camera back so you can see the door, and then I will pull the string. And the hook hooks under the metal table here. Oh, is that slick or what? Okay, here's the stairs. Here we go. I'm even going to turn on my camera's light and see if that does any good. Oh, man. Oh, this is reality television. Yes, indeed. Alrighty, here we go. Up we go. light switch. And here we are. The second floor. What used to be a chicken coop is now kind of a place for storage. Yeah. There's stuff up here that's kind of interesting, so I guess I'll be busy for the foreseeable future and show you things. Okay, back here. Yeah, there's some of the chicken poop I was talking about. I actually think there's more over here, but that's okay. Now, what you have here is a winch. It's actually the second winch, and it's upstairs, and I can't see it at the moment, but there is a basket that hooks to the end of that, and we use it to transport stuff up here, no problem at all. So, yeah, what else? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, there's the chicken wire. So, yes, you have gotten a look at the second floor of my dad's farm garage. Well, I think I've got everything I need. I have a cup of coffee. If coffee didn't exist, the Human Nature Channel wouldn't exist. I have a pair of gloves. And they're a good pair of gloves because the holes in them are still small. These are kind of like junior varsity gloves. When they become senior varsity gloves, you'll have at least a finger poking through, and the thumb, well, it's going to be sticking out like a, well, you know. I got a pack of Dunhill cigarettes. Dunhill is my brand. I was told recently that Hunter S. Thompson smoked Dunhills. Top that, Red Apple cigarettes. Oh, I got a pack of AAA batteries. Oh, I kind of needed these because what happened was, not last Sunday, but the Sunday before, my silent partner came by and he had a DVD of Buffalo 66 with Vince Gallo and Christina Ricci. Hello, George. And it's like, great, you know, George mentioned it and I want to see it. So I pushed the button on my controller, right? And the tray came out. And I put the DVD into the tray. And I pushed the button and nothing happened. And I'm like, pushing and pushing. It's like, you know, I'm trying it like from different angles and stuff. And finally, I come to the conclusion that it's got to be the batteries. And I turn it upside down and I take off that plastic plate. And there's two AAA batteries, some off-brand. I think it had like Korean letters on the side or something. And I'm like, okay. So I go through the apartment looking for some AAA batteries, right? I only find one. There was a pack, and the other three of them have gone on to their prospective careers, and there's that one left. And I'm like, oh, great. So I have this one AAA battery, and I take out one of the Korean batteries at random, and I put it in. I put the plate back on. I aim the controller at the Blu-ray player, and the tray went in. And we got to see Buffalo 66, which I did enjoy. I kept with it. I liked Ben Gazzara. I liked Angelica Houston. I especially liked Mickey Rourke as the bookie with the cufflinks made of gold. So now I got a pack of AAA batteries, and, you know, I don't have to go through that again. We have Irv. And what do you have to say, Irv? You're going up into a chicken coop. Okay, Irv. Time for your close-up, buddy. a special day before Christmas video. My good friend Eric Peters, whose name you should be familiar with, once said in a tweet about a few LVS YouTube investigators that I was one of the content creators that kept the conversation going. I really liked that and appreciated what Eric had to say. So in the spirit of keeping the conversation going, I am going to read you a YouTube comment exchange between Eric and myself. You may think Eric and I are disagreeing here, which isn't the case, or even the point. My attitude is, and will always be, this is what I have to say. What do you have to say? Or vice versa, whichever comes first. That's what I expected of the Las Vegas shooting truth community when I first got here, but it didn't turn out to be quite that way. I imagine something more like the 9/11 truth community, which has been very well organized over the years. Architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth are still active. Jason Burmis, one of the producers of Loose Change, is still going strong on YouTube. Does the Las Vegas Shooting Truth community even resemble the 9/11 Truth community? Do you think we're going to be kicking the can down the road 19 years like those guys? I could take a poll, but I'm done taking them. Eric Peters. Paddock's alleged complaints about the casinos seem to have been about two different things. One, lower machine payout ratios, and two, comps being cut. This is somewhat contradictory, since the effect of one is that losses increase, which will usually lead to an increase in two as you become a more attractive client for the casinos. So, I wonder what his main problem with the casinos was, one or two, i.e., was he more unhappy about the machine payout ratio or about the reduction in comps awarded for a certain amount of losses? Is the cutting of comps a trend observable across the industry, or did the casinos only target Paddock? Why would they do that? Alex. I almost missed this comment because I didn't get an email for it. Well, let's see if I can think this through. Eric Paddock seemed to say Steven played in a systematic fashion. In other words, he didn't play recklessly. I don't know anything about video poker, so I can't speak like an authority, but when playing table poker, good players use their good memories to keep track of which cards have already been played and mentally calculate the odds. Like if I have the makings of a straight flush and I need a 10 of diamonds, I'll know it's possible if that card hasn't appeared yet. If it has, then I'll try for a simple straight or fold. I guess what I'm saying is, whatever the changes to the machine, as a strategist, Paddock would have been able to compensate. Take it from a gamer. If that's the case, then it's option two, which is more of a quality of life experience with the reduction of the comps. Paddock may have felt the casinos habitually regulated him to a second-class status, which can be tough on somebody's pride if they've got any. See, I can relate because I remember one time getting seriously disrespected at a coffee shop inside a bookstore in Squirrel Hill. I was accused by the store manager of harassing the baristas, an accusation she made in front of a cafe full of people, no less, and it was an outright lie. What was really going on was the store manager had it out for the coffee shop manager, and I became a pawn in this game of making the coffee shop manager look bad. I was really angry, and I remember saying to that store manager, "Do you know how much money I've dropped in this place, and you're going to treat me like this?" She may have hated me too because I got along with the coffee shop MGR. So I wrote a letter to the bookstore DM and bitched up a storm, and actually got a written apology and even got a meeting with the DM at the bookstore. But even after all that, I still stopped going to that stupid cafe because I just wanted to walk away from that feeling of being treated second class. Paddock might have been on the receiving end of some impersonal, backstabbing corporate bullshit like I was. But in his mind, He might have thought he was being singled out personally for abuse. A wounded ego hurts, even if the reasons are all in one's head. Eric. Hypothetically, it's possible that Paddock was so frustrated about the loss of comps that he took it out on a bunch of innocent concert goers. But as I said before, I struggle with that hypothesis. There is no evidence to support it, and it was even excluded by the FBI as a motive. Therefore, the casino revenge hypothesis is in fact a conspiracy theory. Alex. I'd have to hunt down the video, but I remember one from a local Vegas news affiliate on the day the FBI report came out. The newswoman said the reason this report is only 3 pages long is it was all the investigators could agree on, which suggests some dissenting opinions lost out. I'd like to hear what those dissenting voices had to say, but the FBI isn't going to tell us that. I agree. The idea that Paddock was after revenge against the casinos is weak, but what's the alternative? Every other explanation as to Paddock's possible motive is also weak, if not laughable. Are we going to go along with what Laura Loomer said when she claimed Paddock had converted to Islam and became an ISIS fighter because he paid off his debts before his suicide attack like a good jihadi do? Are we going with Rich Higgins, who postulated an attack carried out by ISIS fighters who came in from Mexico because Mexico doesn't have laws against ISIS recruitment? Alex Jones saying it was an Antifa attack because, so he says, Antifa literature was found in Paddock's room? Who am I forgetting? Oh yeah, John E. Cullenhoover with his goddamn UFOs. What of their myriad explanations? They all suck. Revenge against the casinos taking out on the innocent at this point seems to suck the least, but it still sucks. I guess in this video I could have gone into more depth, but an important point is that Mike Turber made, in my opinion, a good faith effort. He did his best with what he found. This is his conclusion, and I respect that even if it is unsatisfying. To me, that's important because people like Jones and Loomer and Goodman and Cullen only seem interested in the sensationalistic potential of their claims, which calls their objectivity into question. They're just money-grubbing shits. Mike is not sensationalizing anything, which probably pisses off the people only good at seeing castles in the clouds. Plus, we can't and we may never be able to see the LVS through Paddock's eyes. Was he paranoid? Was he hearing voices in his head telling him, those aren't people down there but heathens dancing before an obelisk and a pyramid? There could be factors at play that are forever out of reach for investigators. I even have a possibility in the back of my head I kind of hinted at in one of my earlier videos. Organ harvesting. How many of the people who died were organ donors? Maybe it was a sick attempt to temporarily flood the pool of organs in short supply to benefit one person. Did some rich, old, powerful, and unscrupulous father, who may have been a military commander and had already caused a lot of deaths, have a grown child in need of a liver transplant? Would a hypothetical individual like that go to any lengths to save his grown child, not caring how many people he had to kill to do it? In this scenario, Paddock is pressed into service with threats to kill his entire family, and suddenly I'm writing a Brad Thor novel. I wouldn't be surprised if people started calling me crazy, and I'd say yes, but it was a harvest festival, wasn't it? Alex Tamsula does Alex Jones one better. And Alex Jones, I've given up on you. I'm sorry. I used to like you. Oh, gosh. Anyway, another point I was heading towards in this video is I suspect corporatism is the cause of the Las Vegas shooting. Doug Popper wrote a really troubling article titled Joe Lombardo's After Action Report Shows Incompetence and Negligence Led to Las Vegas Massacre. And the article talked about how MGM Resorts International CEO Jim Murren was presented with a plan some years ago where an FBI sniper in a helicopter, in the event of a hotel room shooting through a window, could take the shooter out. Reportedly, Murren said to a retired LVMPD detective that he would never train for an incident like that and would absorb the liability if something like that happened. Obviously, this jerk-off wasn't imagining 58 people dead. But notice how cold-blooded Murren's assessment was. See, we're missing the forest for the trees here. Whatever Paddock's motives, the Las Vegas shooting was preventable, and that's what everybody should be focusing on, like the LVMPD being woefully unprepared. Yes, I know, a Vegas casino is an environment more complex than a coffee shop, but the common denominator is when it comes to corporate, people don't matter, only profits do, and that's seriously true about Las Vegas. The casinos didn't care about Stephen Paddock. People call him a high-end gambler and wonder why the gaming industry would do the things we talked about to him and lose his business. But he was small potatoes compared to some of the sheiks from Gulf states, or financiers from Asia, or oligarchs from Russia who come to Vegas. These are the types Las Vegas really cares about. Can you rule out the possibility that big, bright, impersonal Las Vegas made Paddock feel like a nobody, and eventually he decided he'll show them that he was somebody? I can't. I don't know how you do it, Eric. You bring out the writer in me. Drop me a line anytime. So he does. Eric. In an investigation, the only thing that matters is the evidence. In order to determine if there could be any merit to the revenge theory, we'd need a full report on Paddock's playing history, losses and comps awarded for all the casinos he played in. All we have now are the words of a brother who hadn't seen him for many months and who the day after the shooting was boasting about sushi lunches worth thousands of dollars. Alex. Oh, I agree. That's why my bottom line will always be, can you take it to a lawyer or put it before a judge? Which some people don't want to hear. So instead of calling revenge a motive, let's call it a factor. The problem here is, if you toss that out, we're left with nothing. There's a Latin phrase called cui bono, which means who benefits. That's the idea behind the theory the Las Vegas shooting was some kind of grand gun grab conspiracy. Okay, the Second Amendment types clearly capitalized on that. But other than a ban on the bump stock, nothing really changed. So was Paddock, who clearly had no problem owning guns, in league with people who wanted to ban semi-automatic rifles? That seems kind of ridiculous. What I see Mike Turber trying to do is give closure to the families of the victims. Here is his reasoning. Paddock's mental state was deteriorating. It's all Mike can be sure of. The ways we can go are binary. Paddock had help or Paddock acted all by his lonesome. In the balance, Paddock acting alone seems to win out from the weight of what we've seen. Yes, I know, I made a big deal about somebody being in room 32-135 making the noise complaint at 1:30 a.m. on October 1st. So, our lone gunman wasn't quite as alone as the official narrative wants us to believe. But I've talked about this with friends, and one of the answers I got was Paddock had a hooker stashed in the room, and maybe MGM Resorts and the LVMPD had good reasons to keep that quiet. Maybe the hooker was a confidential police informant. But everywhere I turn, I end up back at square one. Here is where I'm at right now. The Las Vegas shooting wasn't so much an act of cold, calculated murder, but an act of rage not necessarily aimed at the casinos. Steve Wynn in that recent Mike Turber video describes Paddock as a quiet, conservative man. But who knows what's going on below the surface? It's kind of like a volcano. You can't really know if one is going to blow until it does. Paddock's gripes against the casinos may have gotten wrapped into this rage, but that wasn't necessarily the point. Something in Paddock may have been building for a long time, and this was the path it took. Rage is a funny thing. A person caught up in it may strike out at the most available target because he can't get at the individual who he's really angry with, who may be out of reach or long gone. Kind of like a guy who beats his wife because he's angry with his boss who reminds him of his father. Which is why revenge is a weak explanation on the face of it. It's like Dylan Roof and the Charleston church shooting. Roof's anger, so he claimed, was at the black gang members selling drugs on street corners. So what does Roof do? Instead of going after the gangbangers, he goes into a church and kills a bunch of people who might have wanted to see the gang members off the street corners as much as he did. Dylan Roof's behavior doesn't really make much sense, other than he was striking out at the easiest target he could find. You might be making an assumption that Paddock was rational. If Paddock wasn't rational, a clear motive is going to be tough to come by. Cui bono? The ghost of Benjamin Hoskins Paddock, maybe? The man who passed his sociopathic tendencies on to Steve? I was friends with a serious criminal, and she once told me, "For some reason, I don't think the rules apply to me." I couldn't make any sense of that since she had already done a stint in prison. And when Teresa was in a rage, which I saw a couple of times, she could be really scary. I heard a couple of screaming fits like you wouldn't believe. But here's the funny thing. Teresa also had high blood pressure problems. Before she was on blood pressure medication, she could really fly off the handle. But once she got on the blood pressure pills, I didn't see that kind of behavior anymore. Yes, revenge against the casinos is weak tea, but it might be a mask over something else, in my opinion. So that's part one of the Alex and Eric show. There's more to this which I'll share with you next week, but I want to finish here by wishing all my subscribers and viewers a Merry Christmas and a special holiday mention to my good friend Michael Saul, my 100th subscriber, and his dad. Happy Hanukkah to you both. Have a good one. Irv?